Hi. Welcome to Champagne with Jayne. Tonight I am drinking the oh so elegant and glamorous, luxurious Scandi Crevet Brut. I don't know if I pronounced any of that right. Yeah, I wanted Prosecco, and this is what I got from GoPuff, so some cheap champagne. But it tastes good. So, just waiting on my fast food 7-Up Sprite mixer to come in. But for now, I'm drinking it plain. And we're going to talk about consent. It should be fun. Consent is a really fun topic. So this is like pretty old news, to be honest. But I was talking on somebody else's stream the other day, maybe like a week ago. I just moved, so that's why everything looks different, by the way, if you've seen me before. I just moved, so I haven't had a chance to like talk about things I wanted to talk about and stuff. I finally got set up. Movers came yesterday. Still like a mess in the Beyond area, but I'm finally like kind of set up here. So I'm gonna talk about like kind of some like older news. But about a week ago, I was on like a stream and the topic with Katie Bugs and the georgenotfound dude, those young kids, they came up, and it was something I was going to talk about a couple weeks ago. I never got around to it, and then I was like, oh fuck it, I'll still talk about it. So that's what I'm doing tonight, because consent is a topic I wanted to kind of talk about anyways, and this happened, so yeah. So we're gonna start with the original accusation video. So I guess we might as well just get right into that. Let's see. Oh, Moo, stop it. I might have to run and feed my cat in a second. Let's see. Okay. So I bring this up here. Let's okay, go like this, and just go like that. All right. So let's just play this. Hopefully you guys can hear it.
Talk properly. So, I probably won't, I again apologize, I probably won't look up during the stream. I'll be reading on my phone. But I wanted to read this instead of tweet it because I wanted it to come from me, and I want you guys to hear it from me. It's really hard for me to talk about, but I feel like it's important for other people to hear it. I'm sorry, I'm scared.
I'm gonna speed this up a little bit.
I'm gonna start reading. Shit, I look a fucking mess.
I think she looks
Okay.
pretty, but anyways.
I want to start this by saying I wouldn't be here without Shelby. I was ready to disappear with this secret forever. I never knew that creators were allowed to talk about these kinds of things.
Box wine is a win in my book, so W box wine.
things, and I guess I'm still new to it all. I just didn't feel brave enough, and I still don't. But her strength made me feel like it may be okay. A little while ago, my story had almost been leaked without me knowing, so here it is on my terms. Here's my story. Last year, at the beginning of summer, I was assaulted by a significantly older and popular content creator. I was freshly 18 and had just graduated high school a few weeks prior. I was drunk in a hotel room with other people around me when it happened. He was someone I had once watched, and he was 8 years older than me and far more powerful.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there already. So, she is kind of starting this off as a very, like, how do I put this? She's definitely kind of catering to the viewers, I want to say, and like, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but by saying, like, he was 8 years older than me, much more powerful. I was freshly 18, just graduated high school. I always looked up to him, kind of thing. Just the way she's already, like, setting it up is she's defining the power imbalance there, which I will say, although it's not illegal, but I do think this is why it is, I would just not recommend older people to be messing around, especially in a, like, casual sexual situation with younger women, girls, especially like 18-year-olds, because I think a lot of guys tend to think they have a lot more sexual knowledge and experience than they actually do just because they're females, when usually they're not. They're pretty naive and inexperienced with sex and stuff. So although what he did, you know, him being like 26 and hanging out with like an 18-year-old, although to his defense, he said because her and her friend had drinking wristbands, he figured they were 21. But either way, just for the general message, I just don't think it's smart for people like in their mid-20s to be, you know, casually dating or just like, you know, sexually hanging out with younger girls like 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Like, it, because this kind of thing just can happen. And again, it's not illegal. He didn't do anything wrong, but it does pose some risks like this because they are, you know, they're basically kids. They're very naive. They are typically inexperienced, and a lot of these miscommunications and situations can happen. Now, this is probably going to be like the furthest I go to defend her in this video. Like, there might be some things, but I don't really defend her much further than that. I don't recommend older people dating younger teenagers specifically for this reason. Even if you have no intentions, no malicious intent, I just think there's a lot of risk there. A lot of people made a big deal of her saying freshly 18, even though she was like 18 and like 6 months or something, 18 and like 8 months. I don't think that's a big deal. She's 18, like freshly 18. Yeah, she is probably saying freshly 18 again to like dramatize the effect, like add a more dramatic effect to her words, when trying to define this like balance or imbalance of power. But I don't really think her saying freshly 18, even though she's like 18 and 6 months or whatever, is like that huge of a deal. What is the backstory with this for those who are unfamiliar? Okay, so so when I first saw this, I was unfamiliar too. This probably happened like 2 months ago. So this girl, she is going to talk about it throughout this video. She's a streamer, I think like a Minecraft streamer, just like a game. And she went to some convention with a bunch of other streamers, and she ended up hanging out with a bigger streamer who's like a lot bigger. Like she's like a little tiny streamer. And I guess he's one of the like main streamers in the Minecraft scene, maybe. And so she goes on in this video to claim that he sexually assaulted her. Basically because the way I view it is he made an advance on her that she did not verbally agree to. So he didn't like ask before he like advanced, like made an advance, and then she considers that being sexually assaulted, which I have a problem with. But a lot of people defended her on this. Lots of people called George out. George apologized, but he didn't at the same time admit to it. So we're going to go through all of that tonight. But yeah, basically she said that she's saying in this video she was sexually assaulted by a bigger streamer at this convention. She was 18 and drunk, and he's 26. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the synopsis. She's going to go through the whole story in this video, though. Let me know if that made sense.
I'm so proud of you and your bravery.
The full story is quite short. It was at a convention in a hotel room. It was my first convention I was invited to, so I stuck by one of my best friends the entire time. I was nervous but excited about it all and felt really grown up. One night we were at a house party when we decided to leave. It was me, my best friend, and her other friend. This other friend was romantically talking to a really big creator at the time. He was also the best friend of my soon-to-be assaulter. She wanted to go back to his hotel room but didn't want to go alone, so we went with her. I didn't really mind, as I was up for anything. When we got to the hotel room, it was the creator, the girl was talking to, and his best friend. The two of them and the three of us. Not much happened that first night, just some drinking and talking at a table. The guy's friend had been passing flirts at me the entire night, but because he was the oldest in the room, we assumed he didn't know my age. Later that night, when I left, I received Instagram DMs from him, and in my Instagram bio, in bold, was my age, 18, confirming he knew how old I was. A few days passed when I found myself in the same situation. Us three were at
a Again, that part, he disputed that. He disputes that her age was in her bio.
Party when it got boring, and whether the girl wanted to leave and go to his room, or he asked us to, I cannot remember. Once again, I was drunker than the night before and was willing to go anywhere. I was naive, and so we went back. I remember a friend seeing me in the lobby on the way. They were worried by the way I was acting and asked if I was okay. I was really drunk, and it was an eerie feeling, like they could sense something was wrong, and I wondered what would have happened if I had picked up on it, and if I wasn't drunk, and if I didn't wave it off. But I don't want to dwell on the what-ifs. That night, I went up to his room. Back at the hotel room again were the two friends and us three girls. At the time, all of us girls were already really drunk from the party we were coming from, stumbling and everything. There was more alcohol in the room, and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us. They said they would join us in drinking, and insisted on drinking games, and, already drunk, I obviously complied. We sat on the couch and answered questions about each other, drinking a bunch, and the older guy sat right next to me while playing. I confused my nerves for excitement, as I had never been around such a big creator before.
Something I find confusing, too, is, like, throughout this video, she, like, as of yet, she has not said his name, the georgenotfound guy, but they were texting, like, before all of this. So, it is kind of confusing why I just feel like she's playing up a lot, to make her story look more believable or make it look worse or something. There's a lot of, like, shadiness I just see. So yeah, they know of each other. Like she said, he was in her Instagram DMs, they were DMing, and she's like, the older guy came and sat next to me, but they were DMing, so it's not like they didn't know who each other were at this point.
I remember getting drunker and drunker and really tired around this time. It was about 3 a.m. Right before the incident, I had answered a question about my age. We were playing a drinking game and talking about sex, and I admitted to everyone in the room that I was 18 and that I was a virgin at the time. I remember back now to him answering questions during the game about back when he was 19 and when he was in college, noticing how my future was his past, and I wondered how he felt sitting so close to me. It was a little after that, when I resorted to playing games on my phone when it happened. Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple, "Are you ticklish?" I coughed out a no, still staring at my phone. I was overly aware of the fact that we were in front of other people, the fact that everyone else was sitting around us, watching us, including my best friend, and that his hand was inching further to places I hadn't asked for it to be. He made a game out of my embarrassment, where he would touch me in certain areas to make me lose the phone game I was playing. I was scared, and I felt sick, either from the alcohol or from his touch. It didn't matter because my mind was a blur. I didn't speak or move. I remember being afraid to even breathe. I stayed there for a while, hoping my stillness could make me disappear. I eventually had to stand up after many minutes for it to stop. I was scared to leave or make a scene out of the embarrassment. Eventually, later in the night, I found myself alone with him and his friend. Everyone else either passed out or sick. I dread the scenarios that could have played out that night, the what-ifs. I was just so naive, and lucky or not, the night came to an end with just that. The night lasted.
Okay, so that's it. That's the assault. So there are times. Okay, here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out like how to word this the best. Okay, so she focuses a lot on the fact that there were people around, there were people watching, and he did this out in the open, in front of her friends, and in front of other people. And she focuses on this a lot throughout this video, and she made a second response video because George responded, and then she made another response video. And she focuses a lot on that, and she keeps saying especially because there were people around, especially because he did it in front of people. Maybe if he didn't do it in front of people, I would have been able to say no or something. And I understand the feeling of being too, there are times when people, I don't know, it's there's this kind of idea where something's happening with sexual assault and stuff. You're just no, and no means no, and you get up and walk away. And there is in psychology this idea where you shut down and you kind of freeze up and stuff. But she seems to really be focused on the fact that people were watching, so maybe she's more embarrassed. So basically what I'm trying to say is how I view this is she was embarrassed, I guess. Maybe she was uncomfortable and she was embarrassed that this was happening in front of people. But my point is that doesn't make it sexual assault. And I do think that we do need to start conditioning girls from younger ages to be able to not, when it comes down to flight or flight or fight mode, to literally do flight or fight and not just freeze. Because right now we basically have people where they're just too shy, or they don't feel emboldened enough to say something, or I don't know. I hear this again and again and again, and it seems to get worse with the younger generations with coming, like, with social media and stuff, like, less social interaction, less face-to-face interaction. People don't know how to socially handle situations, and I do think we need to put more responsibility on women by the way we condition and raise girls to be able to stand up for themselves and be assertive and tell people how we feel, what's okay, what's not okay, without feeling embarrassed or without feeling like it's rude or we're being bitchy or bossy and stuff like that. I think that's like a big problem we have right now with when we socialize young girls. So, you know how we have that saying, like, regret isn't rape? I kind of think that's what she is kind of experiencing. Like, maybe she was embarrassed and so she feels assaulted from it, even though later she's going to say that at first she didn't feel assaulted. She felt like later people were talking. I don't know. We'll get to that part. But I think it's really important to make sure that even though she feels like she was assaulted, she was not sexually assaulted. And she wasn't, she was not assaulted, even though if she thinks she was, she wasn't. Even if she feels like she was not sexually assaulted. I think that's really important that we keep those lines not blurry. We cannot blur the lines between, we can't have like I feel like I was sexually assaulted. We can't have those lines being blurred because that's going to minimize and take away the seriousness of what actually is sexual assault and rape and stuff. So when we have like people feeling like, you did something that I didn't like, because what if he did it and she did like it? Would that still be sexual assault? If he did the exact same thing, but she liked it, now that's not sexual assault, even though it's the exact same action. So that's the problem. We can't have these like nuanced descriptions of what is sexual assault. So, but it's complicated too, because like I said, there are, and this is why you should not, if you're older, don't mess with like 18-year-old girls, because just all 18-year-old, not just girls, 18-year-olds are just dumb and naive and inexperienced. But it is confusing too, because there are times when people freeze and they don't know how to respond. But that's why it goes back to, like, we need to raise and condition girls to be able to be assertive and not be embarrassed to say no and stuff like that. But for her, really, and this is just my what I've gotten from this, but it seems like the big thing is that he did this in front of people. Okay, I'm just gonna keep playing it so I can like regather my thoughts.
Lasted until 6 a.m. I was still drunk, either from alcohol or tiredness. I went to leave, and the older guy decided to leave with me. We walked to the elevators, where I didn't get on. He then pretended that the elevator was broken, and that he couldn't leave, telling me to get in the elevator to prove it was broken, and then after a few minutes, he ended the night with a "guess I'm going now," leaving with a wounded puppy look. He proceeded to Instagram message me for a bit after that, simple flirting or asking about the next convention I was going to, saying stuff about seeing me there. Simple messages ultimately filtered into nothing. At the time of it all, I convinced myself I was lucky. I was lucky that had happened to me. I was excited to be around such big creators, to be at that convention in general. I figured that's just how things were, that was the price I had to pay to be there, that anyone would have loved to be in my position, and that I should have appreciated it.
See, and that part confuses me too. She says, at the time of it all, I convinced myself I was lucky. I was super excited to be around these creators. But then she kind of like shifts her language to say that was the price. I just told myself that was the price I had to pay. Language, just like how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part. But there's like, how she talks like that, it just confuses me. Because there's, I don't know, we'll get to that part Oh, when I was nodding my head earlier, I was nodding my head to Harry's chat that says, exactly, SA isn't a feeling, it is an objective fact. Yeah. And of course there is going to be nuance to each situation, just be like contextually based. But yeah, we can't have people feeling like they were sexually assaulted when they weren't. I think we have a responsibility as adults when we are engaging in activity with, romantically or flirtatiously with anybody, the opposite gender or the same gender, whatever gender you're interested in, when we're engaging romantically with those people, we should have a responsibility to know our boundaries and be sure to enforce them and be able to enforce them. And also, on the other hand, if you are becoming aware or picking up on signs that somebody is a bit resistant or hesitant, and not just like awkward, but they're like actively being resisting, extremely hesitant, and just like unwillfully engaging, to stop and to like not keep pushing. So I just think as adults, we have the responsibility to enforce our boundaries and respect each other's boundaries as well. And I think consent has been such a blurry line for so long, which is why I wanted to talk about it tonight, because shit like this happens where, a guy and a girl are flirting all night for, I guess, a couple of days, it seems like. And they're flirting all night, they're playing games, they're playing drinking games and talking about sex, and then he, like, touches her, and he is, like, trying to, like, be cool about it, or not cool, but, like, he's trying to, like, play it off, like, oh, are you ticklish? Like, he's just, like, he's, like, making a move, and if she didn't like it, she should have said, no, I'm not, or even just, like, pushed him off, or just left the situation. But her not doing that, just because she didn't do that, doesn't mean he sexually assaulted her. So, and that's my big point, because a lot of people came to her defense saying, like, yeah, she was sexually assaulted because he did not ask for verbal consent. And this is my problem with that. What if he was asking her if she liked being tickled, or if she was ticklish. She coughed out no. She got up, and she was too embarrassed to make a scene and tell him no. She was too embarrassed to walk away. So what if she's too embarrassed to even walk away or tell him no? What is the difference between him asking, is this okay, and her saying yes, versus her actually getting up and walking away? If she's too embarrassed to get up and walk away, why would she not be too embarrassed to say, no, that's not okay? Thank you. I got my 7-Up, or Sprite, or whatever. So I don't think verbal consent is really going to help very much. Like, sure, I have nothing against with asking and reaffirming, like, sure, is this okay, is this okay? But I think if we were to mandate verbal consent, I actually think that's going to be a bigger problem, because it's going to take out that's going to eliminate the rest of the nuance that does come with the context of the situation. So if we just say verbal consent is what consent is now, none of the other contextual stuff matters. As long as they say yes, then that's consent. I think that's a huge problem, because like Katie here, I really don't think if George was to have even asked, considering she was too embarrassed to get up, walk away, say, no, stop, what about verbal consent would be different from any of those things? Like, what would make a difference? Absolutely, you need to recognize nonverbal cues as well. I agree. I think nonverbal cues are probably even more important. And if we mandate verbal consent, all of those nonverbal cues are going to not matter as much. And I think that's like probably the more important context that we need, if anything. Okay, so I'm gonna keep playing this. I'm gonna turn down the heat because I'm like fucking sweating my ass off. Be right back.
It was a first that night. It was the first time anyone had ever touched me. I assured myself that I was just being sensitive about it all, that it wasn't a big deal. But assuring only can go so far. I felt dirty in a way that I couldn't wash off. I couldn't help the way that my body reacted and flinched. Part of me still wanted to feel cool about it all, to convince myself I was lucky so I didn't have to think about it. I would reimagine the scenario in my head, replaying it again and again, what I could have done, what I could have said instead. But it didn't matter. None of it did, because he never asked, and that fact would never change, no matter how hard I thought about it. I changed after that. I believed life wasn't fair, I was naive, and maybe sometimes to a fault, but I could only wish it lasted longer. I miss not knowing. I used to be kind. I'm angry a lot of the time now, at that person, at myself, at the fact that a year later, I can feel my heartbeat stop at the sight of him, and he probably couldn't even make out my face in a crowd. I can't stop thinking about who I was before it all, who I'll never be again, and how some things you can't undo no matter how hard you try. I never said anything out of pure embarrassment. I was embarrassed it happened, and I was afraid to look weak or to show that it hurt me.
Right there. She said, I never said anything out of pure embarrassment. So why would verbal consent help you in that situation? If you're too embarrassed to say anything, then literally verbal consent wouldn't have helped.
But I realize now that I don't think being hurt makes you weak. I think it's strong to feel things that have hurt you, and then to still choose to feel nonetheless. I was scared to speak out because I thought it was my fault, and that I didn't deserve to. I was scared of him and all of those who surrounded him. I was scared of his power. I was scared I was mistaken, remembering wrong. I hoped I was remembering wrong. I was scared to go to any more conventions on the chance that I'd see him again. I never thought I'd be strong enough to talk about it, or for what may follow. I'm haunted by him everywhere, in usernames, profile pictures, in my own past. I lost the passion I once had for content, for anything really. The association...
Okay, I think this is a huge problem too. So, okay, we already talked about what happened, right? Sorry, I feel like I'm always eating every time I'm on stream. I swear I'm not eating like 24/7, and I just like, it happens to be my eating time when I do this. Okay, okay, so, basically, he made an advance towards her. She didn't like it. She thinks she's sexually assaulted. Okay. And now she's lost all will for life. She's lost all of her will to for all of her passions. She's lost all of her passion to create for her content, for all of life. She's lost her entire will for life. At 18 years old. Because a guy tried to basically make a move on her and she didn't like it, And then he stopped eventually. And now she's 18 and she's lost all will of life. And I think a lot of that is because of how we talk about sexual assault in society and how it's so it's like supposed to ruin you forever. It's the worst thing that can ever happen to you. You're a shell of a person. You are no longer the same. You're just ruined forever. I think that's a really dangerous and toxic idea. I got one comment that this girl wrote, she saw a video and it had been 7 years since, not the commenter. A commenter saw a video of this girl that posted a video of herself dancing or something. And she said that it had been 7 years since her sexual assault, since she was raped or sexually assaulted. And she feels, I don't know if she said how she felt, but basically in this comment, or in the video, the woman wrote that it takes 7 years for, I guess, your, like, uterus lining. That can't be right. That's, like, for periods, right? I don't know. The lining of your vagina, all the cells completely are, like regrow after 7 years. So now she feels like, or she knows her assaulter, her rapist, had never touched her vagina. So she's like a new person. And I just think that's like really awful for someone to have to feel like they have to wait 7 years to be a new person because somebody violated them and touched them, like raped them, touched them, and in order to be a whole worthy person again, you have to wait 7 years for those cells to completely regrow so that the rapist, hasn't touched a part of your body anymore. And I think that's just giving so much power to these rapists. They already have violated your consent. They've already crossed your boundaries. They've already traumatized you. They've already put you in a horrible situation. Why are we now going to give them our entire body until literally all the cells die after 7 years to feel like a worthy or a person again? I just think that's like a really dangerous and damaging idea. And I get a lot of shit when I say this stuff, because I guess people take it like I'm trying to minimize the seriousness of rape and the trauma that you go through, which I'm not at all. But I think it makes it worse when we tell people, I guess like more so women, because men's sexual assault is going to be handled and seen as a totally, men handle sexual assault totally different from women. So I'm just gonna speak from like a female perspective here, because there are lots and lots and lots of men who get raped and sexually assaulted too. But I guess just for this video specifically, I'm going to be like speaking from a female perspective, just to like simplify things. And I think this all comes from these olden day ideas where a woman's worth is basically her virginity and her sexuality, her sex, right? She's giving herself to her husband. She's giving her, her virginity, and her sex is meant for one person, her husband. Her body is her husband's. So if you get raped, that's basically like the rapist is taking all of that from her that she was supposed to give to her husband. And I think that's all just really toxic, sexist, horrible. As a feminist, I think that's really terrible to say that, like, women's value is based on their sexuality and their virginity. It's not to say that that stuff shouldn't be sacred and you know, held to, like, a high regard and stuff, but to say that that's, like, a woman's worth, and if you're raped, then you're basically, like, a shell of a person, and you're, like, not as valuable because someone took that away from you. And I think that's where, like, a lot of these ideas, like, rape is worse than death, come from in society today. I heard that so much growing up. I heard that from guys, I heard that from girls, I heard that from adults. Like, being raped is worse than being murdered. So, like, when people say that, I'm like, okay, so if a rapist is gonna rape somebody, would you recommend that he kill that person too? Because being murdered is worse? Or being raped is worse? Like, no, obviously, you want the rapist to leave that person alive so they have a chance to recover, and it's not going to be easy at all. You are going to change, but you can still be you. I don't think we should let rapists take away your whole identity. That's what I keep seeing things like they break your identity. You're like a broken shell of a person. And I just think a lot of these ideas are horrible. And that's why I think when Katie says things like, I'm changed forever, I have no will to create anymore, I have no passion for my content or for anything in life. And just from a guy advancing on her at a party that she's been flirting with, cuddling and flirting with, and now she feels like all the will and passion in life is taken away from her. That's what we get when we talk like this in society. So, my rant is a little over for now. We can keep going. Sorry, I just got very passionate about this topic.
Jayne never went away. All the years I spent creating this community felt like a waste because of one night. I didn't even want to log on to this app. All over something that I never asked for. I can't help but feel angrier all the time, seeing the love I had once had for creation before it happened. I tried to forget it all and ignore it until it resurfaced as a fresh cut. I remember a moment around October where I made a comment about a certain group abusing power over minors in their DMs, saying they had minors in their DMs. It was an absent-minded comment, and I apologized for it, of course. It was a possible subconscious jab out of my own personal resentment. My comments filled with people saying that I didn't care about grooming victims and that I thought assault was a joke. And I remember sitting there, reading the comments, scrolling over and over again, heart beating faster. Over half of the comments had him as their profile picture. I just wanted to die. I was embarrassed of myself, and I was angry, and I wondered if I could ever find peace. The idea of will I ever heal, it's scary, but I was tired of withholding my story to protect myself. I had spent so long convincing myself it was my fault, or that I was just a coward. I just wanted to disappear, but I didn't, because I realized that this is—
Hold on, sorry, I have to rewind it for a second.
I just wanted to die. I was embarrassed of myself, and I was angry, and I wondered if I could ever find peace.
And I wonder if I could ever find peace. Like, I just feel like that is so crazy. That is so crazy to have that thought, that she literally is wondering if she can ever find peace again because of this.
The idea of will I ever heal, it's scary, but I was tired of withholding my story to protect myself. I had spent so long convincing myself it was my fault, or that I was just a coward. I just wanted to disappear, but I didn't, because I realized that this is a problem bigger than me. It may sound dramatic, but it's how I felt for over a year. I feel everything very strongly, and I don't want that to change. It was a big deal to me, and I spent too much time downplaying my own experiences, and I still do. I'm still trying to realize that it's okay. My story is about power and age and consent. It pisses me off that they can hide behind their power while victims are left helpless, no matter what scenario. It pisses me off that he thought he had the right to do what he did, that he did it even in my silence. My biggest fears about speaking out was you guys. I wanted to keep my community safe from what may follow, and also, most importantly, from the ugly truth of life. I promised with you guys to be open and honest all the time. I know, but I didn't want to break up what we had. I wanted to stay strong for you guys. I didn't want this to define me or my community or all we worked for. I didn't want it to all be overshadowed by one event. But once again, this isn't about me. This isn't about drama. This is about everyone who's watching that is like me. This isn't about canceling. This is about real people's lives. I live this every night and every morning. With every touch I feel, I relive that room. It's about connections. One of my best friends, Rue, and I have bonded over similar experiences. And I'm sure there's many others like us. I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by friends who support me. Without them, I wouldn't be half as strong, and I wouldn't be here saying all this. You don't have to believe me or my story, because I know the truth, and so does he. He knows, and I have creators and friends that also know, and some who were there. This is about realizations. I was once a viewer, and now I'm a creator. I spent so long looking up to creators that I didn't know, who I had never met, aspiring to be a part of a behind the scenes that I didn't understand yet. Sometimes I wish back to when I was unknowingly looking from the outside. I now have a ruined perception, or rather a truthful one. In this community, a lot of us are told to remain silent and to bite our tongues, and those who speak out against it are often isolated. And that's wrong. It's all wrong. But most, and most importantly, this is about my story and the stories of all the other people who—
I want to make this clear too. I don't think she's like being intentionally malicious. I went back and forth on this, if she was like legit Amber Hearding this or not. Which I fucking hate that that's a term, but it's a fucking term. Fuck Amber Heard. I make a lot of content about Amber Heard, but I wasn't sure, to be honest, which is fucked up. It's fucked up that I have to question that. But you do. You can't just like blindly believe people. You don't have to blindly disbelieve them either. You can just not have an opinion. It's totally okay to say, I don't know. I don't know if she's lying. I don't know if she's telling the truth. It's okay. We don't have to jump to conclusions. I feel like everybody feels like they have to have an opinion before they know the facts, or if they even ever will know the facts or not. At this point, I don't feel like she's maliciously lying. I think this passion that she has is real. That's like what I'm gathering. But I'm not criticizing her any less. I think it's still a problem that she thinks she was sexually assaulted, and to be going out on the internet and telling people that she was sexually assaulted, and that this George guy is a sexual perpetrator. And that's why I'm making this video, because I think it's really important that we make sure that just because she feels she was sexually assaulted, that we know she was not sexually assaulted, and we cannot just be so willy-nilly and just lighthearted with this term sexual assault. So I just think she's wrong. She's wrong. She thought she was sexually assaulted, but she was not. And just because she feels like she is, doesn't mean she was. So, yeah.
who have been silenced, whether it's by their own fear, by power, by this idea that it's not significant enough. Because if it's affected you, it's significant enough. This is also about all the asexual people out there who are surrounded by a world where you're wanted for your body. I grew tired of not being able to speak out about my own story, and if it wasn't for Shelby, I would have never realized my silence was bringing me everything except peace. I experienced firsthand what the power of speaking out can do to a person. I hope this can be of some help to those of you who are like me too, because we aren't defined by what has happened to us. I want to remind you all that it's also okay if you don't speak out, because you don't owe anybody anything. It's your story. It's your story to tell, and it's yours to heal from, and it's only yours. Sometimes the most healing treatment in the world is simply realizing that you're not alone in your own experiences. To end, I wanted to share a diary entry I wrote around the time because I feel it was more fresh, and this may help people who it's still fresh for them, or it also just may be clearer to how I was feeling because I wrote it in my diary, obviously. This isn't really poetic. It's not poetic at all, actually. It's quite ugly. Around half a year ago, I was sexually assaulted by someone 8 years older than me. A black and gray striped long sleeve, Nike shorts, a Calvin Klein sports bra. That's what I was wearing. That outfit, it stained on me. They knew that I was freshly 18, and they also knew I was very drunk. I second-guessed myself all the time, remembering back. Was he drunk too when he slipped his hand under my shirt in front of everyone in the room? Was it this drunkenness that whispered to me as an unwelcomed warmth that prickled along my neck? Or was it rather this fake intoxication that allowed it to stay there as I sat silently, unmoving? At the beginning, I began to sympathize with him. I technically never said no, I suppose. But I never said yes. Time froze. Maybe I thought I could turn invisible if I was still. Maybe. It didn't have to be real then. I had just met him. I should have been more grateful.
She says she said, technically I never said no, I suppose, but I never said yes, with an emphasis. Then she should have said no when he was making the advance. Or if she's actually asexual, just maybe make it clear, she's saying I mean, I don't know, this is a lot of, reading into, but she says she's talking about drinking games and talking about being a virgin and talking about sex and stuff. Did it come up then, if you're talking about being a virgin, talking about sex, that you're asexual while you're flirting and cuddling with this guy? Just make it clear. And I'm sure now she's like, oh man, I should have done this. I'm just saying this to people. She can't go back, obviously, but people in the future, just make your intentions clear and set your boundaries, enforce your boundaries, and recognize other people's boundaries.
Maybe I still had some hope in the world. Maybe I just haven't met the world yet. You're lucky to be next to him. So many people would have traded me places. I wonder how many have. I remembered his age. I wondered where I would be at 26. I blame myself for all the things I could have done. I really did. I convinced myself I was lucky. I let half a year pass, wondering why it's now that I still cry myself to sleep imagining it. Why it's now that no matter how many times I wash, I still feel dirty. Why is it that to him I'm a fake memory, but he haunts mine? It's not fair. I was kind in this world, and it was not fair to me. I stay up cursing it. Power. He has so much more than me.
I also, I'm really curious, she still feels dirty. I'm curious if the dirty feeling that sexual assault victims get is from the assault, being assaulted, which I'm sure at first, that makes sense. You feel violated. You feel dirty. But then afterwards, is that from you feel like a tainted person? Is that more from a societal effect? Is society putting that on women, that you feel dirty because somebody touched you? Or is that naturally how sexual assault victims would always feel? I'm curious. The dirty feeling, I don't know. That could just be a natural feeling from the assault. Or it could be perpetuated. It could start out as a natural feeling, or it could be perpetuated, or could start out natural or could end up being perpetuated. That natural thing could be perpetuated by society. Okay, this is reaching batshit territory. Obviously, no one should be made to feel uncomfortable, but she sounds like she's discussing a human trafficking experience. What the fuck? Exactly, yeah. She's being super dramatic. And that's what I mean. I don't think she's being malicious, but I think she's being absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think we should say this is okay, how she handled this or how she's feeling from a guy advancing on her that she didn't agree to, and she didn't say no to. She was too shy or embarrassed or whatever. But again, that doesn't mean that's sexual assault, which is what I'm trying to like drill home here. This is not sexual assault, and it should not ruin her forever. She should not feel ruined. Yeah, I'll give her this. Maybe she was made to feel uncomfortable. I still don't think that's his fault. She just ended up in an uncomfortable situation. I don't think that's like an accusation against him, though. She felt uncomfortable. Okay. I don't consider that a violation or a assault or anything like that. So, and I don't want to placate or pretend like this is normal, because this is not normal. This is just not sexual assault. And it's not okay to think it is.
Protection. It's unfair. It's unfair he can do that, and it's unsafe for me to talk about it. Why, in order to have a peace of mind, do I have to threaten all I've worked for? I've never been one to be bold, so why do I have to feel guilty for staying silent? I feel weak for what happened to me, and even weaker for not yelling it out, from hiding from it. I don't want attention. I want to disappear. I wish I never had to be seen again. And as soon as I do speak out of it, I'm seen different. Speak out about it, I'm seen different. I'm seen as a person with a body that can be used, and used in bad ways. In reality, I never wanted it. I'm painted a victim of a crime that I never chose. And what happens when it's all I'm seen as? What do I do then? When half echo on about proof or disbelief, the other half will pity me, looking at me like I'm wounded prey. When do I get my dignity back? When I watched it be ripped from me when I was too young to recognize it. What? Oh God. I don't want to be the brave one, but I will. What are consequences to someone who has no conscience? I'll never find the peace. I can't get it out of my head. Will I learn to live with the pain I faced? How does one accept peace on their own terms? Is one defined by what's been done to them? Is this a forgiving world? Because I hope it's not. I hope for every touch unasked for and every person belonging to that touch rots in this world unforgiven. I'm very angry and I don't want to be an angry person. I can't help but feel like it changed me and I had no control over it, and I get angry again and I try to be kind and believe in a kind world, but a lot of it feels cruel. My kindness never brought me strength. Not now. Not even anger can. I'm always losing and I don't find it fair. How something can eat away at me this long. Why can I forget everything but that moment no matter how hard I try? I get mad at myself for making a big deal about it, but it was. I guess I can't change how things affect me. And I wonder why. I wonder why every touch is a bad one. I wonder if the world's so kind, why can't I experience its kindness? I wonder if I'll experience anything soft like that. I'm embarrassed. I'm tired. That's it. Which, it was a lot of what I already said, but at least in that moment, it was more fresh. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what I'm gonna do after this. I didn't really think it through that much, and I knew it was important.
Alright, let's watch his response.
So when Dream makes fun of Harry for being ridiculous and making... For those of you who don't know, Casey Bugs recently did a stream and accused me of something very serious. I made a response and then she made a follow-up response. This is my...
Alright, this is the second one, so let's watch the first one.
All right, hey guys, I want to start off this stream by saying that this stream is completely demonetized. I've turned off ads, I've turned off donations. However, I cannot turn off subs, but just don't sub. But regardless, any sub money that and things of sexual nature. So if any of these are triggering topics for you, I'm going to be addressing it. I was originally planning on doing.
Okay, so this is the guy. Obviously, this is the guy she's talking about. So let's hear his side of the story.
Doing this all live, and that's why I originally tweeted saying that I would be live the day that it happened. But I simply did not feel comfortable doing it live and needed to make sure that I had all the details in place and just wanted to make sure it was all perfect as it happened. So today I sat down, talked straight into this camera, laid out all my thoughts, and then essentially just edited out the blank spaces where I was sitting here thinking about what to say, and then also added some screenshots for context. And I'm going to be playing that video now. I'm going to be telling the whole story, so it might not seem like everything is completely relevant, but I do need to tell the whole story for it to make sense and to fully inform you guys. So please watch the video in its entirety before forming opinions, as this is very important. Finally, before I play the video, do not send hate to Katie. That is not the goal of this, and I do not want you guys doing that. So, let's play the video. See you later, guys. Okay, so this is my side of the story of the 2 times that I ever interacted with Katie Bugs in real life. So the first time that I met her, it was in Dream's hotel room at VidCon. To give context about Dream's hotel room, essentially, it was...
Sorry, I'm just trying to see, like, outside of this door here. Is that, like, some kind of, like, fucking white marble
bigger room than average.
floors and some, like, pillars and shit? Like, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Or am I seeing things? I don't know. That looks like fucking fancy. Either the champagne has like psilocybin, whatever that mushroom stuff is, in it, or like that looks like a fucking really nice house. Okay, anyways.
It's not just a bed in a room like a typical hotel room is. Essentially, it's there was a living room, there was a table, and the bedroom was kind of separated from it. And for this reason, we used his hotel room essentially as a place where all of our friends could hang out in. VidCon is a 4-day long event, so we actually used it quite frequently throughout these 4 days. And we had creators, friends in and out of this room throughout the whole event. Now, the first night that I actually met Katie, I was with Dream in his hotel room, and Dream was in a group chat with 5 other people. These 5 people included Katie Bugs, her best friend, and 3 other of her friends. Now, these 5 people, they were at an official VidCon after party, and they wanted Dream to go meet up with them and hang out with them. But Dream actually didn't want to hang out with them, and the reason is because at the time he was wearing his Dream mask a lot, and he felt uncomfortable wearing it because it's just the whole mask on your face. So he just didn't want to go to the party particularly. He even suggested that they shouldn't come because he was assuming that they were having more fun where they were. They reassured him that that wasn't the case. They were bored and they wanted to come. So now these 5 people, they reassured him party particularly. He even suggested that they shouldn't come because he was assuming that they were having more fun where they were. They reassured him that that wasn't the case. They were bored and they wanted.
Guys, look. Sorry, I'm turning on ice. Hold on. Oh man, you can't see my clicker. It says, "Are Ghosty and Katie having fun?" I'm not Ghosty, by the way. Well, okay, I am Ghosty. That's my name. But I'm not the Ghosty they're talking about. That's funny. I had no idea. Ah, bitch stole my name. The fuck? Okay, well, I'm Ghosty with 2 eyes, and the G is spelled with a 6, so say it right. Just kidding. I just saw that, and I was like, what? Ghosty? Okay, anyways.
They wanted to come. So now these 5 people are trying to come to the hotel, but the problem with that is to get into the hotel, you need to have a VidCon creator badge. And only 2 of the people in the group chat actually had this badge. That was Katie and her best friend. So eventually what happened is Katie and 2 of her other friends came to Dream's hotel room. This was my first time actually meeting them in real life. I didn't even know who they were before meeting them. And then we essentially just were playing drinking games in the hotel room. We were just having fun, talking with each other. Nothing crazy in particular. Now, one thing Katie said retrospectively, looking back at the scenario, is that I was flirting with her throughout the night and that she was uncomfortable with this because of our age difference. At the time, she was 18 and I was 26. She actually assumed I didn't know her age because she had never said it. But then later, I had actually DM'd her on Instagram. And because of this, she says that it is confirmed that I know her age. To give some context to this scenario and to why I didn't know her age, my perspective of things is that I am with people that are over the age of 21 in a scenario where we're doing things that people that are over the age of 21 are doing, like drinking. And also the people that came from an event where they had very heavy security. This was an official VidCon after party. And with previous VidCon after parties, I even had problems getting into these events. There was one time where they didn't let me in because they couldn't confirm the legitimacy of my UK ID. They said they weren't trained to look at foreign IDs. So they didn't even let me in despite me being 26 at the time. And also since Katie's stream, I've gone back and reviewed texts from the time. And there was actually a picture where it was shown that they had this 21 plus wristband on one of their wrists. So from my perspective, it's a bunch of 21 plus year olds hanging out. I have no reason to think otherwise, other than her Instagram bio, but I just didn't see it. But anyway, nothing actually particularly happened at this first night that we were hanging out. Everything was very friendly. We went our separate ways, and that's the end of the first night. And then the second time that we hung out was the next night after this. So we wake up the next day, we do VidCon stuff. After we're done, that's the final day of VidCon. So VidCon is now technically over, but we have one more night in the hotel before we need to leave the next morning. And actually at this point, I actually had a friend that I had only known online meet up with me for the first time. And the whole time I'd known him, he lived in a different country. He was actually living in Japan. And I told him I was going to VidCon, and he actually just happened to be in California at the same date, so the dates aligned, and we made plans to meet up. Now, he arrived early evening, I think it was around 5, 6 p.m. We were just hanging out in my room. Dream messaged me, "I'm bored. Can you come to my room? Let's hang out," essentially. That's what we did. Me and my friend that I just met physically, I knew him online, went up to Dream's room, and we were hanging out. And again, the same scenario happens from the night before. They are trying to get him to go out to another party that they were at, and same story, Dream didn't want to go, but was open to them coming here. And again, that is what happened. But this time, their friends were actually all able to get in. I don't know how they did it, but Katie, her best friend, and 3 other of her friends ended up coming to the room, which had me, Dream, and my online friend that I just met. So 8 people total in this room at this point. This night was very similar to the one before. We were just hanging out, playing games, drinking, and just having a good time. So something I actually want to point out before I continue with the rest of the story is the way that she phrases some things in her story. Instead of saying that her and the rest of her friends actually wanted to come to the hotel to hang out with us, she said that one friend was invited by Dream, but she didn't want to go alone. So then they decided to go along with her because they were willing to go anywhere. I just think it's important to note already that the story is slightly different from the reality of it, and I'll be mentioning this a few more times throughout the rest of the story. You can see in these screenshots from the text at the time that they were all trying to come to the hotel, and it wasn't just oh, we're willing to follow her, essentially. They were all in the group chat and part of the discussion to go to the hotel. I also chose to mention my online friend. It doesn't really add to the story, but she never mentioned him or the 8th person that she brought with. So I'm just saying it because that's how it happened, and I want to make sure the story is straight. Another thing that she talks about is how we insisted that she drinks more, and that we insisted on playing drinking games, when this isn't the case. Again, they had already been drinking at this party before they arrived at the hotel room, and they had also been the ones that were asking to play the drinking games. So instead of us insisting that we play it, they were actually the ones that were asking us, and you can see that in the screenshots here. They had actually texted multiple times, specifically wanting to play this drinking game that we had played the night before. And at this point, I was pretty drunk, and so was basically everyone in this room. It was the last night of VidCon. VidCon's a pretty stressful time, and honestly, and at this point, I was see that in the screenshot here. They had actually
Clay, what was that app you were using for the most likely to game? It's my secret app that you can only access on my phone with me, you know? Wow, shut the fuck up. I'll find it. Okay, we're going to the hotel right now to steal your phone. Fuck you. Katie Bugs, most likely to. What was that? Okay. Okay.
texted multiple times, specifically wanting to play this drinking game that we had played the night before. And at this point, I was pretty drunk, and so was basically, they had actually texted multiple times, specifically wanting to play this drinking game that we had played the night before. And at this point, I was pretty drunk, and so was basically everyone in this room. It was the last night of VidCon. VidCon's a pretty stressful time, and honestly, a lot of people are happy when it's over. Not that they didn't like it, but it's just a stressful event. There's a lot that you have to do, and when it's over, you're just happy and you want to celebrate. So at this point, we then moved to the couch. There was a couch in the room, and I sit next to Katie. She also says, looking back on the scenario, that she confused her nerves for excitement when I sit next to her. But again, at this moment in time, everything was friendly. Nothing sexual had happened. I'm just literally sitting next to her on the couch. And during this, she was laughing, smiling. She gave no indication that she was uncomfortable with me sitting this close to her. She also mentions that she was thinking about my age and that I was a lot older than her. Again, she was 18 and I was 26 at the time. And again, to clarify, I actually didn't know how old she was, despite her claiming that I did, just because it was in her bio. And it was clear to anyone there that she was not uncomfortable with me sitting next to her. And eventually, two of the people that came to the hotel room left. So then it was just down to me, Dream, my online friend, Katie, Katie's best friend, and a sixth mutual friend. Next, she says, this is a quote, resorted to playing games on her phone to avoid the awkward situation. Now, I just don't see how this is the case. She's implying that she is using her phone to essentially escape, in such an awkward scenario that she's in, but that's just not how it happened. And this is why. She brought up the phone game as kind of a point. The game was honestly the central point of the interaction at this part of the night. It was a very social thing. She was moving the passing the phone around. We were all playing the game and bantering about it, just having fun with the game. So I don't see how she resorted to it and was using it in that context. She wasn't being awkward at all. There was no sense of uncomfortability from her. She was laughing and playing with everyone. And yeah, I'm not really sure why she phrased it like this. We actually continued to send each other high score updates even weeks after the event. To add further context to this moment, we were all actually sitting on the couch that was in the hotel room playing this game on her phone. And during this, me and Katie were at the far end of the couch and we were cuddling together. We had been cuddling for, I'd say, around an hour at this point, playing the game, talking, and just having fun. And for clarity, I had my hand around her waist above her clothes. So with her statement where she's saying that she's resorting to playing games on her phone, I just don't really understand it. And I think that the picture that she's painting is really dark, when in reality she seemed very happy with the situation, was having a good time. I also want to address a fact that she claimed that would confirm that I know her age. She said that she had answered a question about her age during a drinking game, and we were talking about sex, and that she admitted to everyone in the room that she was 18 and a virgin at the time. Now, I just don't remember this happening. I'm not saying this to just pretend like it didn't happen. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I did not hear it happen. We're not just all sitting down and not moving. It's a chaotic environment. I could have been getting a drink. I could have been talking to someone else. I just did not know that that was said. Another quote from her stream I want to address. She says, "There was more alcohol in the room and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us. They said they would join us in drinking and insisted on drinking games. They had already been drinking before they arrived. They were drunk, and the way this is phrased, it makes us out to look like we're kind of preying on them and like forcing them to drink when they didn't want to, when that's not the case. And as I mentioned earlier, they were even the ones asking to play the drinking games via the texts before they had even arrived." So then, this is when her most important claim happens. I'm just going to read the quote. She says, "Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple, 'Are you ticklish?' I coughed out a no, and still staring at my phone, I was overly aware of the fact that we were in front of other people. The fact that everyone else was sitting around us, what..."
This must be so awkward. Like, I don't know. I feel bad for him. Like, right now. Like, ugh, that just sucks. I would say, I feel like the next worst thing to, like, raping somebody is falsely accusing somebody of rape. Now, shouldn't accuse him of rape. And I don't know if you could, like, technically say she falsely accused him. Well, she did. She did falsely accuse him, but not maliciously, I guess, if she actually thinks she was sexually assaulted, but she wasn't. So she is falsely accusing him. She's just not, she might not be purposely doing it, but it's just as harmful. And I still think we should criticize her, even if she thinks she was assaulted. She wasn't. And I don't think we should just, like, let that slide or just be, like, something like, oh, well, you know, she thought it. That is going to minimize the seriousness of real sexual assault. But, yeah, I just want to say that real quick.
Watching us, including my best friend, and that his hand was inching further to places I hadn't asked it to be. Again, as I mentioned before, we had previously been cuddling on this couch for around an hour, but I did place my hand on her waist under her shirt. The way it's phrased makes it sound like it just happened out of nowhere, when in reality we'd been cuddling for over an hour at this point, and it was not out of nowhere. It was also around half an hour until I started moving my hand further up, and the way it's phrased just makes it seem like it happened pretty instantly and pretty quickly. There was nothing quick about it, it was very slow, and I was very cautious about it and making sure that she was comfortable throughout the process. Me and Katie were very touchy, very cuddly, and very slowly got more intimate. I've always been overly cautious with consent, and this is not just because I'm a creator. I've been like this since before I was a creator, and I think that's just the way I am and just the way it should be. Nothing came out of nowhere. Everything progressed very slowly throughout the night. And also, before I continue, I want to make it clear that the furthest anything ever got was under the shirt touching and cuddling. Now, obviously, people don't typically ask if everything is okay, even such as touching someone's waist under their shirt before they do it. But in this case, I was extremely slow, and she was engaging with me the entire time, laughing, cuddling with me, and even playfully fighting me for the game that we were playing. Again, the quote that she said, "He disguised it with a simple, 'Are you ticklish?' I coughed out a no." She's implying that it's with malicious intent, and that she coughed out a no would also imply that I should be able to tell that she was uncomfortable with it. She says, later, "He made a game out of my embarrassment where he would touch me in certain areas to make me lose the game I was playing." Now, I actually remember this quite vividly. I remember she was playing the game, and there were parts where it would be very easy to lose if you were distracted. And she's right, I did do that. There were points where she was playing the game, and she was at a point where it was easy for her to mess up, and I would, for example, tickle her or like squeeze her, and when I did this, she would laugh, she would turn around and smile at me, or she would play fight with me because I just made her lose the game. She also says how, quote, "I didn't speak or move. I remember being afraid to even breathe. I stayed there for a while, hoping my stillness could make me disappear." Now, to reiterate, anytime that I did this, it was met with her either smiling, laughing, play fighting with me, and there was no reason for me to believe that she was uncomfortable with it. She was not moving. She was not speaking. Of course, I don't believe that silence is consent. I just want to make sure that it is abundantly clear. She was visibly and physically responding well to everything that we were doing. I also want to comment on how she said that she had to stand up after many minutes for it to stop. She did get up multiple times throughout the night, for example, to go to the bathroom, to get a drink. Also, when her friends left, she got up to say goodbye to them, and she would come back to the same scenario. I also just want to point out that her best friend was here during this whole process, then afterwards did leave. And I think it is important to note that she made the choice to stay behind for many hours more. And as I mentioned before, she did get up, say goodbye to them, and came back. We were even talking about staying up to wait until 11 a.m., which was the checkout time of the hotel. Since it was the final day, we were like, oh, I don't know, if we want to go to sleep for a few hours, might as well just stay up. But that's not what ended up happening. And it's at this time that Katie says that, this is a quote, "I went to leave, and the older guy then decided to leave too." This is phrased in a way that makes me look kind of creepy, to be honest. She's basically saying she left, so I decided to leave too, which is not the case. What actually happened is Dream had decided he was too tired and was going to bed. So the night was over. and we all left. She then goes on to tell a story about the elevator and how I joked about it being broken to try to get her to go in with me. So Katie actually had her own hotel room on the same floor as Dream. So she actually didn't have to take the elevator. She walked me to the elevator when she didn't have to and said goodnight to me, which was nice of her. I did joke with her about coming in the elevator by pretending that it was broken. I went into the elevator, the doors closed, and I would press the doors open button to make it open again. I did this a few times, and she didn't go along with it, which I respectfully took, obviously, and ended up just going down to my room. So yeah, she didn't have to take the elevator, yet she chose to walk with me to the elevator to say goodnight to me, which I think is interesting given how she's saying how she was so upset with it. But also I think these comments are her looking back on the night and not her actual feelings at the time. And that's essentially the end of the story. This is actually the last time I've seen her in person, was just as those elevator doors closed. We messaged for a bit after, through Instagram DMs and Snapchat, and the way that we talked to each other was always pretty banterous. For example, after the first night that we hung out, but before the second, she'd actually texted me and said, "You better not be in Dream's room tonight or I'm going to shoot your leg." Obviously, she's not going to shoot my leg. It's just, we're just messing with each other. And I'd actually responded to her and said, "Well, guess what? I'm actually here right now." And yeah, after this, we texted for a bit, sometimes daily, sometimes we would take a few days break, even a few weeks at some point. And at some point after VidCon, we were actually both in London at the same time. And she let me know this through her DMs. Now, I will say she didn't come out outright and say, "I'm in London," but she did say that she'd gone to a place that was known to be a London thing. And I commented on that and said, and asked what she was doing in London. And just to clarify, we did not meet up whilst in London, nor make plans to do so. She was always extremely friendly to me. I was friendly to her. And honestly, I was very shocked to hear her say the things that she did say during her stream. When I first opened up her stream, it was after she'd already streamed it, but not long after. So people hadn't yet made the connection that it was relating to me. And when watching it, I was like, I was actually interested. I was thinking, okay, what's this going to be about? And then when she started saying more and more details, I realized, wait, this is about me. I was very, very confused, very shocked, and didn't quite know what to think, given I had no impression of any wrongdoing throughout this whole relationship that I had with her. None at all. Like, it was, if anything, it was the opposite. I thought we had a pretty good relationship, despite the fact that we actually hadn't talked in a while. I thought if I had seen her in real life again, everything would be fine and we would be friends. It was actually around this point, after VidCon had finished and we were messaging, that I found out her age. And since then, I never pursued anything going forward, and I essentially stopped messaging her. Her last message to me was August 1st, 2023, and I haven't replied to her since then. After I watched her stream, I was
Sorry, my cat's
pretty
here.
confused. I didn't understand how her account of the story had...
That's quite telling right there. For him to actually admit that things reached the level of under the shirt could be more damning than helpful to his side of the story. Yeah, I think he's not afraid to admit it because he realizes all the evidence and stuff that he has. Because she said that he was under her shirt, right? But under your shirt can mean, like, not to get graphic, but like, this is under my shirt. On my waist, right? Like, I'm under my shirt. I'm, like, not even above my belly button right now. But that's under my shirt. So, like, it doesn't sound like he was, like, groping her, like, around her, like, breast area or anything like that. So, I just think he's, like, very confident that, like, he didn't do anything wrong. Is that kind of what you were saying? It's consistent with an accurate accounting of events. Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I thought. Oh my god, the champagne is really bubbly. Maybe champagne with Jayne isn't the best. The best for live streams. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know. I think he's admitting to this, yeah, because I don't think he did anything wrong. There was another video I was gonna play after this. I'm deciding on whether I should or not. Should I make this a super short live stream and just end it after this? Because I am kind of tired. There was a video of two people who had opposite views. So one was defending Dream and one was defending Katie, and they were basically like kind of discussing together in one video. I was gonna go over that, but I don't know if I should just stop after this and make this like a short stream. So yeah, I might just stop after this. I'm feeling kind of tired. But I just wanted to, I don't know, I kind of just wanted to like test out the new place and the new stream setup anyways. But and again, I'm still like new to streaming and just wanted to like, I don't know, just trying to make this a more regular thing. So hopefully like in the future I'll have like more like a planned, I kind of just did this last minute, like this morning I was like, yeah, I'll go live, like, so in the future I'll try to be like more like planned and have a more like resume, whatever, scheduled set resume or something. But yeah, no, so anyways, Harry, I agree with you, totally agree. I think he was trying to, if he was trying to obfuscate something, would deny that altogether. Exactly. Yeah. No, I think he's like very confident that it's just kind of crazy what she is saying. And that's what makes me go back and forth. I'm like, is she being intentionally malicious? Is she just trying to like, you know, be like, oh, I've sexually assaulted because if I accuse this guy who has 1.15 million subscribers, she'll get like some clout or whatever, and she did, like a lot of people watch this, but that doesn't really seem like that's what she wanted to do, because I think she like quit streaming or something, or I don't know. I go back and forth with it, honestly. I don't know what to believe. My whole point though is that she just, it's not sexual assault. This is not sexual assault by any means, in no matter what way you put it.
Being so different from what actually happened. A lot of the facts that she said just didn't happen at all, or were phrased in ways that just make me look as bad as possible. Saying things like, I insisted on her playing drinking games, or that she was frozen in place, or that she was scared. She was having fun, she was enjoying herself, she was showing this with her body language, with the way that she smiled, the way that she laughed, and just her overall general demeanor. Now, one thing that I think is very important to differentiate here is that I do believe that she regrets being affectionate with me, and that really does make me feel terrible. I never want to make anyone feel uncomfortable or regret their interactions with me or anything along those lines, regardless of if it's sexual or not. And I'm truly really sorry if I contributed towards that. What's important to differentiate is that she was uncomfortable with this after the fact and not during. She says, quote, "At the time of it all, I convinced myself I was lucky. I was lucky that it had happened to me. I was excited to be around such big creators, to be at that convention in general." Now, actually, I've had a similar scenario to this where I had a sexual experience with someone where in the moment I was perfectly happy with it happening, but then afterwards I regretted it. And I'm not saying this to get any form of sympathy. I'm not looking for that. That is not the case at all. I'm simply saying this because I can see the similarities in the situation. Now, I'm not mad at the person that I was in this sexual experience with at all. I have no negative thoughts on them. I simply did not like how it ended up, and if I could go back and not do it, I wouldn't have. I wanted to do it in the moment, but then changed my mind later, which is completely valid. You're completely allowed to feel that way. But what isn't okay, and I think is just completely unfair, is to act as if I am the bad person in the scenario because you changed your mind later. I also want to separate this from abuse and certain scenarios that other people have dealt with recently or just in general. I think it's completely fine to come to terms with your abuse over time and realize that it was bad for you and a terrible situation to be in, and to then look badly back on that person. That is completely valid, but this is different. Again, this all happened within a 4-hour period, 3-4 hour period, and I was not given any sign of discomfort, unhappiness, or anything along those lines. And again, it was the opposite of that. She was happy, she was laughing, she was smiling, and as far as I know, everyone else in the room would have thought the same at the time. So now what I'm thinking is, why would she come out and say it like this? Why is she saying this? Now, I don't think she's purposefully being malicious or trying to hurt me or ruin my career or anything like that. But what I do think is that she is surrounded by a friend group that completely despises me and my friend group. And this is quite a specific scenario that probably doesn't really happen that much, especially publicly. So it's kind of weird, it's kind of hard to talk about it. But I think after VidCon, she obviously had told some of her friends about what happened. Whether or not that was in a negative connotation, I do not know. I wasn't part of these conversations, of course, but she clearly told them about this scenario. And when these people that are around you all completely despise me and my friends, they're obviously going to look on this poorly. To add context to this, she actually mentions in her stream, I will just quote it. She says, "I remember a friend seeing me in the lobby on the way, and they were worried by the way I was acting and asked if I was okay. I was really drunk, and it was an eerie feeling like they could sense something was wrong." Now, this person is in Katie's friend group, and they were concerned that a group of 5 people were going up to Dream's room to join 3 additional people, which is an interesting concern to have. I actually have heard from another source that overheard this conversation and thought it was quite strange that she was worried about this. I think it seems very likely that after 8 months of you being around friends that hate me and my friends and constantly talking badly about us publicly as well, and privately, I don't know what they say privately, but can't be any better than what they say publicly, obviously that is going to affect the way that you view the experience. And it's going to make you look at it differently. You're going to second guess it. You're going to be thinking about it. And clearly, it changed the way that she thought about it. I just think it's completely unfair to judge me and my actions based on...
Sorry. And that does happen. There will be situations where you tell somebody about it, and maybe it was awkward, or you're uncomfortable, or you're like, oh, like, yeah, that kind of sucked, or something. And then people will, like, totally gas you up about it and be like, no, that was abuse, or that was assaulted, or, like, you know that's not okay, right, Jayne? Or, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, and they'll make the person overthink it in their head to the point where they actually start to feel traumatized or abused, when they initially didn't feel that way, but people are making them confused about it, and now they think they were. That is something. I think they got, like, retroactive trauma or something. I could be wrong about that. Okay, so you know what I think we are gonna do? We're gonna watch Katie's response to this video, and then I'm gonna end the stream after that. Okay, so there's like 20 seconds left in this video. So yeah, we'll just watch Katie's response, and then I'll end the stream because I am getting sleepy. Okay.
You know your best friend so much, and they do many times this touching that he admitted to not asking. So I
How are
figured
you
I would
doing
just do
today?
it now because obviously not going to be getting better anytime soon. So here it is. Like I said, this is a stream. Just my final thoughts on everything. If
17
you're looking at
months
the stream,
heroism.
for me to like expose and drop new drama or just anything to talk about, it's not that kind of stream. And I apologize if you think
Love you,
it's going to be. It's
TTSM,
just
less than 3.
everything I need to say from my voice, coming from me. I also apologize. I will be, stopping, stuttering. I can't control the emotions I show during this. I didn't even write anything to
Love
say.
and
I've written
support
down,
you,
the
Katie.
things I
Love
want to talk
Katie,
about,
love.
but it's not something.
Thank you, Harry, for being here and watching again. Yeah, if you want, drop a whatever you said in your comment. I'll respond to the comment that you wrote the other day. And I appreciate you being here again. I don't know who Emma Goldman is, but yeah, people think I'm like this very extreme radical feminist for some reason. I don't know, but it's kind of funny. I gotta say that the comments are pretty entertaining, not gonna lie, but yeah.
Thing I can just sit and read, which is hard for me because it's hard to just voice how I'm thinking, what I'm thinking. So I do ask that you guys be patient with me. And this isn't edited, so I can't, go back or cut out the pauses that I make. So
Love
again, I
you, love
apologize. This is
Katie,
gonna be all
heart,
over the
Katie,
place
heart.
and probably not make any sense. Hate me, hate my guts. To watch the full thing, where there's a lot because of the ladies. So I really want to thank you guys for at least being in this place. The one biggest thing that I want to clear up, it is fucking sexual assault. Okay, I'm not gonna apologize. Say that
It is not fucking sexual assault. Sorry, not sorry.
isn't sexual assault, that I'm not a sexual assault victim. The touching that he has admitted to many times, this touching that he admitted to not asking or getting my consent before he did, he felt up my tits on a couch with other people there. He stuck his hand up my shirt, under my bra, and felt up, fondled, whatever you want to say. He felt up my tits.
Okay, now here she is saying that he felt up her boobs under her bra. We did not get that before, but that's a bit more. I'm inclined to, I don't know, I don't want to speculate, but I'm inclined to feel like she's adding more drama because what she said before wasn't received very well. People were like, oh, you're talking about him tickling you and you're saying it's sexual assault. And maybe she's responding now with this. As we did see before, she was very over dramatizing things, the power imbalance and the age and his viewership over hers and all that. Again, this is just speculation. I can't say whether or not he did or did not do these things, but it just from her previous behavior and why like the motivation to do that. So it to me it just doesn't line up. But I can't say whether or not that happened, I guess. I have my doubts. You're going to be defensive at this point, right? Like when you're getting this kind of feedback. So there's just a couple parts I want to play from this.
Unwanted sexual touch is literally in the definition of sexual assault. It's fucking sexual assault, and I'm never gonna apologize for saying it is, okay? It isn't fake allegations. It's not fake allegations. I'm not a liar. Quite literally, the thing that I was talking about is my sexual assault, and that's the one thing he confirmed. He can sit there and confirm that he did it, and
that's the one thing that I wanted to talk about, mostly. Her saying that he confirmed this. He did not confirm it at all. We just listened to his response video, and there was no confirmation of this happening actually at all. She totally just added in the whole fondling of her boobs under her bra and everything just now, and all he confirmed was that he was touching like around her like waistline and was like kind of tickling her, like squeezing her, and while she was playing the game, but she was responding very positively to it, which is all totally valid, and again not an indication of sexual assault, because again what she's basically saying is it's not sexual assault because she didn't like it, even though she didn't signify to him that she didn't like it or that she was not okay with it and she did not want him doing it. But if she did like it and he did the same thing, then it wouldn't be sexual assault. So that doesn't make sense, right? It can't just be, that doesn't make sense.
I'm still sat here getting called a liar, getting called a fake victim.
He did not confirm.
Getting called, what was it, a slut and a prude at the same time. And quite frankly, it's fucking ridiculous.
I'm sure.
I'm not
sure
gonna stand
that
down.
happened,
Luckily,
yeah.
I'm not scared to say it anymore.
Internet comments are obviously fucking ridiculous. Just read my comment section.
That's it. It's sexual assault. He felt up my tits. This touching that he's talking about, that's what it is, okay? No, I'm not upset that he tickled me. I'm not saying that he assaulted me because he tickled me or because he was close to me. No. I'm upset because I was on a couch, 18 years old, drunk, on a couch with other people in the room, and he sticks up his hand and starts feeling my tits.
See how she's like really focused on other people in the room? She keeps bringing that up again and again and again. There are other people in the room. There are other people in the room. Other people were watching. My friends were there. And I think at one point she even says like, maybe if we like had been alone or something and I would have been able to tell him no. So to me it just reads like it's the embarrassment is what she feels quote unquote assaulted or violated by, not so much the actual touch, which means it's not, I mean either way it's just not sexual assault. So again, that's my whole point. Nothing about this is sexual assault. We should not let this be defined as sexual assault, even if she feels like it is. It's not okay. That's going to completely take away the seriousness of what actual sexual assault is.
That was my fucking story. No, he didn't ask if I wanted it. But somehow, you know, he had enough energy to ask the question, are you ticklish? Which I responded with no. I'm not fucking ticklish. And that's what led to him feeling up my tits. He will never understand that feeling when I realized this wasn't just a bunch of people hanging out on a couch together, a bunch of friends hanging out, when it was inherently a sexual thing, and that instead of just a bunch of friends on a couch together, I was being wanted for my body. No, he would have never...
It can be both, right? It can be like friends hanging out and having a good time, and then also like, hey, I like you, so I'm going to kiss you or touch you or something. It can be both. It doesn't have to be that he only wanted her for her body and this whole thing was a ploy to just get her for sex and that's all he ever wanted her for. Like, that's just where the way she uses her words and stuff is just making it seem very like over dramatized and overly malicious, when to me, based off of both of their testimony and their evidence, comes off as a totally innocent and appropriate action. Didn't she initially say she didn't respond at all? She said she didn't do anything. She said she kind of like froze, but she did say that when he asked if she was ticklish, she coughed out a no. She did say that, and then she said she had to get up after a few minutes to make it all stop. Which, like, just like try to like play that in your mind. So she's playing this phone game. Both of them have confirmed. He showed text messages of her texting him about the phone game. Hey, can we play this phone game? Oh, we're gonna play that game. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I want to play that game. She says they're playing the game. He says they're playing the game. And he knew that there were parts of the game where if you're distracted, you're going to lose. So he would like tickle her or like squeeze her or whatever. In like probably a flirtatious way. Like that's what it sounds like. And so she's saying that he's fondling her breasts like underneath her shirt for minutes before she has to get up to get him to stop. But she's not responding. She's not responding. All she said was no, she's not ticklish, and she's not responding. Like, it's not computing. There's no way. He's saying that she was laughing and smiling, but like, no, like she didn't add the whole under her bra thing to like fondling her breasts until this time around. She just said he went up. He touched under her shirt. That's what he said. That's what she said, which could mean anything. It could mean like around her waistband. It could be anything. She only added that after. It doesn't make sense that he would be full on like groping her under her bra for like minutes on end with her absolutely not responding until in front of a room, in front of everybody, till she had to like get up. It does not make sense. It's almost like impossible. That's like next to impossible.
Felt my uncomfort
someone to
because he was too
respond that
busy
way.
feeling something else that night.
And I really think she's like super trying to demonize him even more after his response video, which also just gives me just a bad feeling. She could just be feeling very defensive because I'm sure a lot of the internet is coming after her now, and so she's in like defense mode, but still it makes me lack trust.
The amount of miscommunication and misinformation that is spreading is one of the biggest reasons I feel like I just don't even really have anything to say anymore, because I mean, I was reading my own story on Twitter, and I was reading it, and I didn't even know it was my story they were talking about until they said my name, because of how skewed everything's gotten. It's like this huge game of telephone, where each time it gets a little bit more off, but no one's acknowledging that they could have heard wrong, and they're yelling what they heard as loud as possible. Okay, people saying I'm trying to ruin a man's career because he tickled me, or especially, he did not rape me either. Like, it's so important to hear what I'm saying. People getting their info from TikTok comment sections, like, it is insane. I really do encourage everyone to watch my response on it. Like, either read my response on Twitter or watch the original video. I don't fucking care if you can't stand the fact that I'm crying. At least, if you're gonna say something, if you're gonna hate me, that's fine. Watch my full video and then choose to. Like, it's just, there's a lot. There is something I'm fully owning up to and clearing up right now. The screenshot. My recent response on Twitter, this is the only kind of like response thing I'm gonna give. I will acknowledge that was a complete miscommunication. There's a screenshot I said was from his friends that wasn't there for the assault, mentioned our ages, and acknowledged, the situation was weird. It's a real screenshot. What I got wrong and what was miscommunicated was who it was from. It was actually from, instead of the guy who left or wasn't there for the assault, it was from the girl who wasn't there for the assault, which I acknowledge is frustrating that I got that wrong, and I didn't realize I got it wrong until after I posted it a long time after. And obviously when I don't come out and say, oh, I got that wrong, when he's the one to come out and say she got that wrong, it makes that into the biggest deal. I got a message from the girl that actually sent the text and was like, it was a while after I already posted my response, and was like, you kind of mixed up who the text was from, but I'm sure it won't be a big deal because it was only one of the minor things you said, and everything else you said in that response was way more important. Which obviously we've seen that was not the case, but I do acknowledge and own up to the fact I completely was wrong about that. But again, I'm saying, even though it wasn't from his friend, it was yet another person in the hotel room that acknowledged the weirdness. Yes, it wasn't from that guy in the hotel room, it was from the girl in the hotel room. Like, I still think the screenshot, it's not a fake screenshot as well. It's a real screenshot. I still think it adds to the fact of, you know, people acknowledged it. Also, the fact that I said I was freshly 18, which is something a lot of people are mad about, when in reality I was 18 and 5 months old. My bad. What I meant to say in that original stream where I said I was freshly 18, I said I was freshly 18 and just out of high school. What I meant to say was I was 18 and freshly out of high school. I just put it in front of the wrong thing, and I do acknowledge that. But once again, I feel like the idea is still the same, whether it's freshly 18 or freshly out of high school, because...
Yeah, see, the 18 thing I really don't make that big of a deal out of, but there's just a lot wrong with this. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even think there's really much
assault, but being able to hear it from his mouth. But they were on my stream because I'm scared and I'm talking about my assault. About this, the system, you would like to believe that it's always for you. The amount of fucking injustice that happens with our system is
Alright, this is gonna be the last couple minutes I play of this because a lot of this is just about the response she's gotten from people. But I'm more curious about her response to actually him, to George.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I cry on my stream because I'm scared and I'm talking about my assault. I cry, and then I'm told I'm embarrassing, that I'm doing it for attention, that I'm a pick-me, that I'm dramatic. But if I sat there and I didn't cry, I know I would have been called a liar, soulless, heartless, you know, a sociopath. You can't do anything right in these situations, and it's fucking insane. For people saying take legal action, do you know the odds of winning an assault case? Like, there's a reason. 1 out of 3 girls are assaulted in their lives, okay? There's a reason so many of them don't come out about this. The system, you would like to believe that it's always for you. The amount of fucking injustice that happens with our system is insane. It's absolutely insane. And you sit here and see someone come out about their story, and your immediate thing is, well, take it up with the law? Like, that will serve any justice. So, fuck you. People, even just the hypocrisy of people not being able to watch my video, me coming out about my assault, but being able to hear it from his mouth.
This is exactly the kind of thing that gives Pearl more ammunition in her quest to demonize women and scare men away from relationship marriage. No bueno, Jayne, lol. Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. Like, and it sucks because, like, but this is the exact ammunition that people like Pearl or Fresh and Fit use against women is examples like this that I would argue are the minority of people. Like, this is some streamer, 18-year-old chick hanging out with a streamer who has over 1 million followers. Like, how common is that? That's not very common at all. So yeah, I don't know. But when this happens, somebody acts like this, somebody does this shit, people like Pearl, who has 2 million subscribers of her own alone on YouTube, uses that to perpetuate to all these people out here, and it fills, you know, people's minds with these false perceptions. So that's why I'm just like trying to call it out a little bit.
But they don't want to watch mine because I'm too dramatic and because I'm crying too much. But
I try to be fair. I try to be fair to men and women, to everybody.
they'll watch his. I think it's insane. The amount of people telling me how I felt that night. The amount of people telling me how I felt. Or the amount of people believing from his mouth how I felt. Instead of just fucking hearing me say how I felt. It's insane. It's insane.
Wait, but she's doing the same thing. He's trying to say how he felt. And she's denying him that. So that really doesn't change anything. What she's trying to argue right now. It's kind of a non-argument or non-point.
And the fact that if I have inconsistencies in my story, which I do, and I'm not gonna say I don't, I'm like remembering the night of my assault, and I'm sorry, but the thing that I really remembered
It's not
is
an assault.
the assault. I didn't remember,
It's not
you
an
know,
assault.
like if a person who wasn't there for the assault left at a certain time. I remembered my assault. I will acknowledge that there are inconsistencies, but when I have inconsistencies in my story and I address them and I acknowledge it, my whole story's out. It's in the trash, and I'm seen as a liar for inconsistencies. But when he
No, it's just supportive evidence, kind of, but...
has an inconsistency, or when, you know, even the 21 wristband thing saying I had a band that said I was, you know, when he has an inconsistency and I prove it wrong, have video footage of it, it's still used against me to this day. His inconsistencies are taken as the holy
Wait, so how'd she get into the party then? I don't know, I don't keep up with her, like, Twitter engagement, so maybe that's my bad, but...
fucking grail, and as the truth, even when proved wrong, and when I have an inconsistency, my whole fucking everything I've said is gone. It's just, the way I've been treated is fucking insane, and I'm not afraid to say it's fucking insane, because I do acknowledge I have inconsistencies, you know. I also understand the idea that we have different point of views. Obviously, we're gonna have different point of views of that night, otherwise what happened wouldn't have happened. I don't understand believing the one point of view over the other, and again, even the fact that we have different point of views. The one thing we agree on, is the fact that he touched me and didn't ask if I was okay with it. That's what I came out about, and that's...
But this is my problem. Why? That wouldn't have made a difference. She said she couldn't say no, or she couldn't get up and walk away, or tell him to stop, because she was too embarrassed because he did it in front of a room full of people. So why would him asking if she's ticklish versus him asking, are you okay with this, make a difference if she said she was too embarrassed to even get up and walk away, or too embarrassed to tell him no, or too embarrassed to tell him stop? That, like, what? I just don't... what is the difference? I wish, like, she could define what is the difference between that and what he did.
What he agreed with. I mean, it's, I don't know. Oh, and again, the fact of him saying I painted him in a bad light. I'm talking about my assault. I'm not gonna paint it in a fucking rainbows and sunshine light. Him saying I used word choices that painted him bad, but then he says stuff like, oh, we cuddled before. Cuddling can be taken, and I watched it be taken and ran with. He says we cuddled, and people are like, you can't get mad at what he did to you because you were lying on top of him and all up on him before it happened. I wasn't. We were on a couch. Sitting up. We were all on a couch. Everything and anything you could consider cuddling, I saw that as a friendly, like, drunk, what you do with your friends. I was doing it with my best friend that was right next to me as well, you know? And again, I believe
We
any
love you,
touches
Kiki.
were more initiated by him, but again, that's just hearsay. Again,
She was doing it with her best friend, sure. Okay, sure. You cuddle with your best friend, right? But you feel comfortable cuddling with your best friend because they're your best friend. You have that relationship. When you go on a bus, when you go on a random bus or a train, you don't cuddle up on the person that you don't know next to you. You're cuddling with somebody for a reason. Whether they're your best friend, you feel comfortable with them, that doesn't mean it's sexual. Or you're cuddling with somebody because you are, like, doing it in a romantic way. And it doesn't mean that that's consenting to having sex or doing anything further with them, but that is signifying that you feel comfortable with this person. And I do think that, that's okay for them to, like, advance further if the other person is receiving the cuddling and the touching in a positive manner. And then once the advance is made, you have the responsibility to either enforce your boundaries and say, no, I'm not okay with this, or positively respond, or, be okay with it and go through with it. Like, I just don't, like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. If they were cuddling, which it sounds like they were, from both of their sides, then you don't just, like, cuddle with random people. Just because you cuddle with your best friend doesn't mean that you cuddle with anybody you cuddle with is, like, normal, because it's not. You cuddle with certain people for specific reasons. So I don't think what the point she's trying to say here is making the argument that she's trying to make it be.
and but just using words like that, it can be taken and ran with. It wasn't anything sexual, and I believe it was pretty tame.
And that's fine. That's fine. If she thought it was tame, that's fine. So then when he went further, she should have like said, no, I'm not okay with this, or walked away, and nothing did going further. So I just don't see how this is sexual assault. I spent almost 10 years in a district attorney's office. The way she categorized the lack of seriousness given to sexual assault accusations is not entirely true. It is incredibly difficult for the state to meet burden of proof in these cases. Do you mean it isn't, or it is incredibly difficult? I just want to make sure I'm not reading that incorrectly.
Didn't, again, believe that it was an invitation for anything sexual or that it would lead to anything sexual, especially it being in front of a bunch of people.
See, there she goes again. Especially it being in front of a bunch of people. She keeps focusing back to this point that he did this in front of a bunch of people. I think that is her main problem with this.
For the people saying I'm an attention seeker, I think genuinely when people come out about these kind of things, is insane that people believe that. Anyone who has genuinely came out about a true story that has happened to them,
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about this. Sorry, this was kind of a short stream again. I wanted to test out the new place, and again, I'm trying to do this more on a regular basis, so I'm gonna keep this a short one. But yeah. But, well, let me see. The way she categorized the lack, it is, sorry, getting tired. Oh yeah, no worries, me too. That's why I'm ending this. It is incredibly difficult for the state to meet burden of proof. Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's an incredibly difficult thing to prove because a lot of it is just he said, she said, kind of stuff, which for a criminal case doesn't hold a lot of weight for proving something beyond a reasonable doubt, which is why a lot of sexual assault cases and rape cases end up going to civil court because the burden of proof is a lot lower. That's my understanding of it anyways. But yeah, there was another video I was gonna watch where two people one took Georgia's side, one took Katie's side, but I think I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. So yeah, I'm pretty tired, so it's almost midnight, so I'm just gonna end it here. So next stream I'll have something planned out more, but this was something I wanted to talk about because I just think it's like actually a really important topic. So, but yeah, just getting in the flow, doing this more regularly and stuff. So thank you guys for being here. Like the video, leave a comment, as ridiculous as it may be, or not ridiculous, whatever you feel like. And thank you. Have a good night, guys. Peace.